Hey guys, it's Annabelle and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're just going to take a quick look around my house at the plants that are in flower at the moment, mostly orchids. I'm just going to show you some of the orchids that aren't just in the orchid room because you guys get a little bit of a biased view sometimes of my collection, and I'm trying to kind of just show you kind of more openly just how things actually are. In addition to that, taking everything down isn't always practical for me, especially since I've now got things like hanging. For example, this is the upstairs bathroom where we have this fantastic window space that I should be taking advantage of really because orchids. Also bathrooms, so high humidity when people are showering, bathing. And in addition to that, this window kind of opens in quite a nice way where I can have airflow but it not get too cold. So I decided that this was going to be a bit of a room for my Nelly Islas, as you can see here. So I bought two macrame hangers. There was an old like blind rail up, which I cut the blind off and made some holes that I could hang the hangers like on. And the Nellies really like it here. One thing that I really found when I changed over environments from the old house where I was growing in a spare bedroom filled with hundreds of orchids, and grow lights, very controlled temperatures, and quite stable humidity. And the lighting, obviously LED lights, not that intensely bright, like just perfect for my Nelly Islas, Oncidiums, Phalaenopsis, that sort of thing. So although temperatures were probably higher than they would have liked, they were intermediate to warm. I wasn't growing cold, I was growing in the house, and the lights were generating a lot of heat. So in summer it would sometimes get like 30 degrees Celsius plus, like 33, 34 sometimes, which isn't reportedly ideal for things like Phalaenopsis, Nelly Islas, but I never struggled with them in that. So I always kind of thought, well, maybe it's not such a big deal. I think that was an artifact of me growing in very controlled conditions otherwise, so the humidity would never dip below 40% really. Sometimes it would go a little bit lower, but for the most part I was growing in like a contained room. I did have good airflow, I had fans for air circulation, but when I moved everything over to the conservatory right before summer, I put my Phalaenopsis and Nelly Islas in there, thinking, well, they're adapted to relatively warm temperatures, they should be okay. I didn't anticipate the level of influence that lighting and humidity also play on how well an orchid's going to do in a given temperature. So my Phalaenopsis, pretty much as soon as summer hit, went downhill, which I've never experienced before, even with similar temperatures. And I put it down to high natural light and very low humidity. My humidity in the conservatory at some points was down to like 20%. Along with that very bright light, so they're going to be very like active metabolically, they're going to be losing a lot of water, and they just like crumbled, and I had to kind of get them into a bit of a rescue situation where I moved them up to a darker spare bedroom, and they did a lot better. Even though the temperatures were kind of similar, they weren't quite as extreme and the humidity was a bit better, and they recovered. And now I have moved the Nellies into the bathroom, which is not going to stay particularly warm. Sorry, the sun has come out, I've realised, and it's blinding you guys. Maybe a little bit better. So yeah, the sun's coming out really bright now, so maybe this isn't the best time to film. You can see the light level that they get. They get really nice lighting, intermediate temperatures, a little bit of a night temperature drop, and they've just recovered really well in this environment and in the spare bedroom that's unheated, and I keep the windows ajar. So going into winter in the UK is when my Phalaenopsis and Nellies are going to get a chance to recover from what I subjected them to with the house move in summer. In addition to that, the house move did mean that I was, for a long time, and I'm only just starting to catch up, very behind with watering. And I think if I'd been growing any other way, I would have killed a lot of orchids. So far, I haven't really had any casualties. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've had any. Nothing springs to mind that's died. Things have struggled, but they're still alive. So they are recovering now, and I'm getting on top of watering a bit better. So these are my Nelly Islas, Oncidiopsis or Perreiraara as they used to be, Nelly Isla. wonderful citrusy lemon peel fragrance. It's a little bit sharp and it has a little hint of spice. I absolutely love it, and obviously at the moment we've got 2 Nellies in bloom with 3 spikes each, so quite the display, and I really enjoy having these hanging in the bathroom window. Next up, I wanted to show you some of the Phalaenopsis orchids that are blooming or spiking right now in the grow room. So this one is just a no ID complex hybrid phal from a grocery store. Really beautiful, deep kind of burgundy flowers that I really love. It's got 2 spikes. And it's just looking really good. So I really enjoy this one. I've got all of my Phalaenopsis displaying their spikes in cascade fashion, which I think is kind of it's my personal preference. It's how I like to see orchid flower spikes growing. Just with some flowers starting to fade now, this is my Phalaenopsis Chingrui's Gold Star. Really pretty, one of my favourite colour combination type orchids. Yellows and pinks are kind of my favourite colours that go together. Really lovely orchid, I absolutely love it. Quite small flowers, quite a compact orchid. Just opening up, we've got an orchid that I actually purchased for the lip. I don't know if you can see in there. It's got a really special lip coloration, beautifully contrasting with the yellow petals and sepals. I'll just show you a flower that's opened. Really beautiful flower. And this one, which looks heavily influenced by Dorytis or Phalaenopsis pulcherrima there. Lovely, lovely cascades of pink flowers that it puts out. It's another no ID Equestris type hybrid. My Maxilleria variabilis are blooming fully with lovely, very light floral peachy fragrance. And behind that we have a no ID big lip Phalaenopsis. This is a kind of reverse Peloria where the lip actually mimics the petals. Really pretty. I didn't control this spike very well, so it has grown into quite a small shelf, quite close to a light, and I now can't kind of get it back. It does have another spike growing just here as well. And then another no ID complex hybrid Phalaenopsis, which is similar to the Phalaenopsis Bolden's kaleidoscope, but there are 3 very similar hybrids. So I couldn't put an ID on it, of course, but it's got 2 spikes. I'll just show you the other side of the plant. So this is the other side of the orchid with both of its spikes. It's actually quite a big orchid and tends to produce multiple spikes. So really, really nice display. Next up, really, really pretty, slightly fragrant little miniature Phalaenopsis with wonderful speckled leaves. Really beautiful. And behind it, we've actually got Phalaenopsis spiking for the first time, which I'm super excited about. And this is Phalaenopsis Orchid World Bonnie Vasquez. So this is a really, really exciting orchid that I got as a seedling. And it's a little bit trickier to grow actually, but finally at spiking size. So I'm really excited about that. I'll put a picture up on screen of what it'll look like. And then here, which maybe doesn't look like much to show, we've got a spike growing up through the shelf there. I'm just going to move that so that it does cascade off the shelf. Certain amount of training that has to go on with these Phalaenopsis. Let's focus you in. So this is the Phalaenopsis that I rescued from my mother. I'll link the video up in the corner and down below. And this orchid actually came to me pretty much rootless. It only had aerial roots and just very, very thin, stubby leaves. And it's now got a pot full of roots and a spike, so that's exciting. Behind it, not an orchid, but we have some lovely pinguicula flowering. Another orchid spiking that I'm super excited to see the flowers of is the Neophonetia falcata crossed with Phalaenopsis equestris. This should be a really interesting flower on this. It's actually got 2 spikes. So I'm really excited to see that one bloom. Next up, looking absolutely beautiful, we have the Cattleya Fushu Glory Happy Holiday variety. Flowering yet again, still no striping on the blooms, way too bright I know. Sorry, the sun is actually out today, which is nice, but filming is a little bit of a challenge in such bright light. Really beautiful orchid. Just going to move on to some of my phals. We have my Pyloric Phalaenopsis in full bloom, and I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of this type of Pyloria. It kind of looks messy to me, but it is quite a pretty Phalaenopsis. Just a wide shot of the blooms there. 2 spikes on that one. Just starting to open its buds up, so very pretty orchid. Next we have a classic, big old floofy white Phalaenopsis. Really, really pretty, really large flowers. Just starting to fade on some of the flowers, but lots more to come. And then one of my favourites actually, a very similar variety to the other one, but there are distinctions, and this is a much more yellow form with some lovely pink veining. I love the shape of this one a little bit more. It's a bit more star-shaped, a little bit more beautiful in my opinion. Quite a lot of spikes and buds on this phal. Another couple of pretty large flowered Phalaenopsis. And then we have Phalaenopsis Happy Fangs, or Happy Fan, I should say, F-A-N. I will put the name up on screen. This one is mislabeled as Fang, and it is commonly mislabeled, so you can find it under both. In all fairness, a Google search for one will probably pull up the other anyway, so it probably doesn't matter too much. This one is just an absolutely wonderful hybrid. It produces massive displays of these wonderful, fragrant, bright yellow flowers. They don't fade, and it has a wonderful contrasting purple lip. Currently carrying a seed pod for Violacea alba. But yeah, really, really beautiful orchid. I absolutely love this one. Just has the most wonderful flower displays, and they are mildly florally fragrant, if that's a word. They have a mild floral scent. Really wonderful orchid. Another one that I have shown you before, this is Phalaenopsis Super Stupid, Carmella F1 crossed with Gigantea Big Boy. I don't know if you can see that bud there growing up against the light, but that is actually one of the Dendrobium Perreiraara cakeys that I separated off to do a giveaway with. So giveaway coming shortly, but lovely Perreiraara spike there. And then kind of the reason for me wanting to film this video is some of the wonderful cascades that I've got going on at the moment. So this is Oncidium Shari Baby. She currently has 2 spikes. One of them is almost fully open now, although we do have some branching that I'm expecting kind of happen a little bit more towards the end. But really, really just a beautiful, beautiful orchid. Wonderful vanilla fragrance, soft vanilla powdery fragrance. I absolutely love, very warm and inviting and cozy, like vanilla cookies or vanilla sweets. It's absolutely lovely. And when you have this many flowers, obviously you get quite the display. The flower spike is huge this year. I don't know if it's longer than last year. It does feel like it, but it could just be the way I've got the display hanging. And we do have another flower spike just up there. I don't know if you can see it, very fine against the light. And then we have another beautiful hybrid. This is Coilostylis ciliaris, or what was Epidendrum ciliare, crossed with Rhyncholaelia digbyana, I think. Really, really interesting colour that's coming out this time with a bit more pink than how it bloomed last time. It bloomed last time with an upside down flower, so really, really beautiful orchid. I absolutely love this one, and me and Nina have just, Nina's just sent me another of this type because hers, I think, has slightly more pink on the flower. I kind of was interested to see, and she very kindly had a division that she sent to me, so it's just a really wonderful orchid. I can't detect any fragrance at all that's coming from mine, whereas Nina reports that hers is mildly fragrant, so I'll also be interested to see if that is something that Nina's division has more of, or whether it is a culture thing, but it's a huge plant. Focusing on the plant back there if you can see it. It's a very big plant. Just the flower poking through, but a very large flower. Really beautiful, and I just love this like fuzziness that comes through. Still blooming, we have the Prosthechea radiata Winter's Lace from Berners Nurseries. Now, I've heard this fragrance described as pleasant, but to me this is actually very overpoweringly sweet and cloying. So I'm not a massive fan of it actually, but we'll see if the fragrance changes at all. But it is a very, very beautiful, beautiful flower. I really enjoy it, and it is starting another spike now. They can be very prolific bloomers when they're in the mood. And then behind we have another no ID Inca Orchids Oncidium. I've got quite a lot of no ID Oncidium types. And with Inca orchids, I don't really trust the IDs, to be honest, so I'm just going to call them no IDs for now. But beautiful. One that I really wanted to show you the flowers from, and I think I might have to do a spotlight video when it does bloom, is the Gomesa crispa. Like, look at that display. It's going to be quite magnificent, I think. So I'm very excited for that to bloom, and the flowers are supposed to be fragrant. One of the buds has just started to open up, so let's just go in for a little close-up. Now these are supposed to be fragrant, but obviously I'm not getting much just from one flower being open, but it'll be interesting to see when the rest of the spike opens up what we get through. We also have my Epicattleya Rene Marques crossed with Cattleya schilleriana, still in bloom. Really, really wonderful flower with a sweet kind of floral bubblegum type fragrance that I absolutely love. Really beautiful fragrance, which is obviously inheriting from the Cattleya schilleriana, because the Epicattleya Rene Marques is reported to not have a fragrance. Let me know if you know differently, but that's the reports that I've heard, that it isn't fragrant. So it's super exciting that the hybrid actually is, because obviously the Cattleya schilleriana is not really present in this flower much at all. The only hint that you get is the pink tinge and stripe that's kind of like a fish tail or a mermaid tail down the lip. There is much less pink on the actual Epicattleya Rene Marques. Really, really beautiful. Absolutely love it. And the plant itself is so easygoing and so easy to grow. I just love it. It's grown so well for me. I had it from a very small plant that I got only just over a year ago from Schwerter, and it's just rocketed. It's an absolute rocket ship. So, really lovely plant. There is something else that I just want to show you, which isn't a flower as such. However, I stuck some Cleisocentron murrellianum crossed with Gokusingii pollen on a few Phalaenopsis, just out of curiosity, and most of them dropped immediately. But the Phalaenopsis Sue's Glad Kid Blue variety that I stuck the pollen from the Cleisocentron murrellianum crossed with Gokusingii onto, it started to swell, and actually there's quite a large swelling of pod, only pollinated on 21st of September. So this may come to nothing, but it's very interesting, isn't it? The capacity that orchids have to hybridize between completely different families. So obviously Phalaenopsis, Vanda hybrids are possible, so this hybrid was theoretically possible, but yeah, really interesting. Another really pretty no ID Phalaenopsis blooming at the moment, this wonderful sunset coloured fowl that I absolutely love. Again, most of my flowers are no IDs, so I can't really help you out with IDs for these, but I absolutely love it. Kind of gets me a bit because these plants are sold as mini phals, but they actually get absolutely huge. They're not mini phals. Often they are hormone treated in the shops to make them smaller so that they reach a mature blooming size at an actual physically smaller stature. So not many phals that you get from IKEA will turn into monsters. This one was just purchased from Sainsbury's. I have another one of the same type which fell off a shelf recently because it's kind of growing at a weird, it's lost some of the bottom leaves. This is the one in semi-hydro, which dehydrated a lot when I moved house, but it's actually, see if I can show you. I'm just gonna put the phone down a second. It's got some quite good roots in the pot, and it's recovering from my neglect when I moved house. The one in organic medium had a harder time just because obviously this is like a self-watering system, so if I get busy in my life and can't water, this system is more forgiving for me than like organic medium like bark and moss without a self-watering element. So that's purely the reason the other one's not doing better. It's nothing, no comparison between the two growing methods, just I guess a comparison between how they interact with me when I'm moving house and not able to water very much. Something interesting that I want to show you is that while many of my Catasetum are going dormant and spiking, many others are actually putting out new growths, which is a little bit of a challenge to combat the different sort of seasonal variations in them. So the Orchid Glade Jack of Diamonds on the left is spiking. Behind it there, and I'm sorry the brightness is quite high, a Cycnoches cross. It's not a cross, it's a species, it's Chlorokylon. I can just about see the tag from here without kind of marching my way through the Cycnoches Catasetum army that I've got going on here. So that one's spiking. This is my Jumbo Puff, which did very well for the season and produced a slightly bigger new growth than last year. And I'm hoping it'll spike soon. Hopeful. Some of these need a bit more watering because I'm struggling a little bit with the fact that some of them are still in active growth and needing a lot of water, and some of them are obviously tailing off and entering dormancy. So for example, behind there we have one that's just putting out new growth and actually is going to need watering, increasing soon. Whereas we have others that are going dormant here. So I just need to, it's a little bit of a balancing act because I tend to water in terms of shelves, and when they were like hold off water stage or water less, I would put them on a different shelf. But yeah, no, not at the moment. It's a bit difficult to manage. Hopefully at least the ones that are growing at the moment will maybe run into less spider mite issues this time of year. I had a few requests to show the Quaker parrots. I have a little bit in previous videos, but not very much. Sprite and Kiwi, they're Quakers, so in nature they kind of build giant like communal nests, which is why they are currently using tail feathers, I think. They do have lots of toys and stuff. They don't really like the camera very much, which is why I try and kind of keep it away from them when I'm filming. They are getting used to it and getting a lot better. These lived with my mum for 10 years when I went off to university and then rented, so we couldn't have pets or anything. So they lived with my mum. They got a little bit, not neglected, but they didn't get that much attention when I went off to uni. So I went and got Sprite a little friend. I used to be quite in the bird community, always hissing. Bless him, just move back a little bit. So I let him choose out a friend. It's difficult to just put birds in together and just for them to just get along. So we kind of gradually did it because he was hand-reared. He was a hand-reared baby and he took it really hard when I went off to uni. And I didn't want to get rid of him. I loved him and I didn't really know what to do. So I got him a friend. It does mean that, it's not a perfect solution. It's not really an ideal solution. I guess an ideal solution would have been maybe to rehome him to a loving family, but it's so difficult to know that they're going to go to a good home, and my mum was willing to care for them, so I just sort of got him a friend and he's been great. They did try and nest at one point. He is currently, I think, he's a bit old. He's 15, so he's very curious, I think. But yeah, he got attacked when he was little in the nest by his parent and then had to be hand-reared, which is why he's got a little bit of a scar on his nose, which has never healed up. Hey buddy. So yeah, Sprite used to be hand-reared. Kiwi was never hand-reared. She's the submissive one in this relationship, but yeah, they're getting used to me and they're getting used to filming, and you can see obviously the difference already in just a couple of minutes of me just sitting and talking. He's a little bit scared, he's shaking his feathers a bit, so he's gonna back away. But yeah, I try my best to give them the best care I can, and I am trying to tame Sprite again and Kiwi. It's obviously difficult because they've pair bonded now, so I don't, you know, it's not fair to split them up or anything. And they're happy, so yeah, I've just got them in a nice big cage and they've got lots of toys and they've got each other. For me, they don't have to be tame. Like, it would be nice if I could interact with them, and I don't know if you guys are into birds, but I follow Bird Tricks on YouTube. I used to follow them back way before they had a YouTube channel, when I was into birds, and when I had Sprite we did a lot of training and stuff. But yeah, it's difficult with life changes when you have a pet from a very young age. So I was 13, 12 maybe when I got Sprite. I'm 28 now, so I do feel really guilty, and the way that I've handled the situations over the years, but he's a happy, healthy boy. And I think he is starting to get a bit more tame again now that I've got him back in the new house. So maybe we can work together, but I'm just sort of taking things slowly at his pace, because he's lived with Mum for such a long time with minimal interaction, and I'm so glad that he had Kiwi through that, because when I went to uni at first he was feather plucking. Anyway, this is a rather long non-orchid related tangent, but a couple of people asked for me to show you my birds, so I guess a lot of orchid people are maybe bird people. Hey, Sprite. Focusing on the completely wrong thing there. But yeah, let me know if you've got any animals. I love animals. Sometimes I think I like animals and plants a little bit better than people. Anyway, that is Sprite and Kiwi. Say goodbye. Hey, yeah. So I'm going to end this video by showing you my bigger Cattleya dowiana here, which is doing great, putting new roots down. Had to give it a bigger pot recently. So yeah, everything's doing great. Everything's flowering nicely. I'm really happy with how things are doing in the new house. And I hope that you enjoyed this video, and sorry that it's kind of more in a tour style. Let me know how you feel about this format. Obviously I can definitely pull things down and do like what's in bloom videos, but they do require more time. Literally just pulling everything down off a shelf can take half a day, and organising them all. So it kind of is what it is at the moment. And I am trying to kind of improve my content and give you guys what you're asking for, but you know, I'm trying to manage like what I can physically do. But yeah, at the moment it's kind of improving, and I can do a bit more with the orchids and filming, because obviously in terms of the grand scheme of priorities, the orchids do come above YouTube, and YouTube was a fantastic hobby that I've started. I've just noticed that the pyloric fowl actually has more spikes than I said. It's got some spikes here and also here. So it has 4 spikes, I lied. My Rhynchostylis giganteas are all starting to spike now as well. I think it's going off in the other direction actually. There you go. And another spike from this Rhynchostylis gigantea. I don't know if you can see, but there is another spike starting there on the 3rd Rhynchostylis gigantea, and another one, double spikes again this year by the looks of it, just in there. And then on this Rhynchostylis gigantea, which is the peach variety that I got from Cleisocentron, which didn't bloom last year, I actually am really excited to say that we have, where was it? Spike there, so that's the peach variety if the ID is correct. Anyway, let me know if you enjoyed the video down below, and thank you so much for watching today. I hope that you guys are all keeping safe and healthy, and I'll see you guys all later. Oh, Oh my god, I was complaining about this orchid recently. This is a bit depressing. This is my Rhynchorides Bangkok Sunset. Like you can see, it's got 2 yellowing bottom leaves. I feel like I never got things right for this orchid. It didn't seem to like basket culture, it seemed to want more moisture. And then, I don't know if you can see this, I put it in this and it grew a root like, so this is never coming out of this pot again. So I've been despairing a little bit of it, like that I'm not keeping it right. Seems to want something slightly a bit different to like Rhynchostylis giganteas. So I was hoping that this pot it might enjoy more with the extra oxygenation and ventilation that some of my Vandas have responded really well to. Just take off this depressing lower leaf here. And I've just seen this. If you saw my Ecuagenera order, I ordered another one of these because I was like, oh, I don't know if it's the right idea. It seems a bit fussy, it seems a bit difficult to care for. It was from Classen and they've constantly sold me wrong IDs before, and they're very nice about it, and they give me refunds each time or credits off my next order, but still wrong IDs. But yeah, I'm so excited for that. Some of you might not think this looks too bad, but it lost a lot of lower leaves over the years. So I feel like it wants more moisture than a typical Vanda, but also more air than like a Rhynchostylis gigantea. Yeah, so I don't know. But yeah, it's spiking, yay! Anyway, thank you so much for watching today. I was finishing up and then I saw that and just had to show you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you did enjoy this video and want to see more orchid updates and orchid related content. Let me know what you think of this kind of format. And I'll see you guys all later. Have an amazing day. Bye!